They didn't put the podium up there. There's no podium. So that's recognized at this time. Mayor McDonald, Supervisor from the Soil and Water Board. And if I omitted any of the citizens, was concerns over traffic to engage in our transportation system by catching our public transportation solution. Members first.
Our residents live here in the county and work in this county, so obviously transportation is important. We enjoy as a county one of the lowest millage rates in the state of Florida, as you can see here on this slide. We're at 4.4347, which is certainly an important component of our conversations going forward. The gas tax, so that is 15 years. That cost is about $175,000 per mile. And lastly, I want to touch on transit, mass transit. To paint the picture of our current scenario, Links is funded by the county, and Mr. Harrison will be up momentarily to share more about Links. It's currently funded by the county utilizing property tax revenues. So your property taxes we utilize to support the Links system. We also know that Sunrail operations in the near future will ultimately transfer from the Florida Department of Transportation to local governments in terms of our responsibility going forward. And then there have been a number of other additional mass transit options that have been studied in the past, and those studies have ultimately not resulted in implementation based on financial constraints. So with that very brief overview on transportation, I want
Seminole and Osceola counties. It serves over a 2,500 square mile service area and a population of over 2.1 million people. Links does this by incorporating about 74 fixed routes and a number of more flexible routes that I will talk about again in a minute. And all of that serves about 25 million trips each year. You are all probably quite familiar with the Links fixed route service. This is our 40 and 60 foot articulated buses that you see around town. And Links has runs these fixed route buses using a fleet of about 300 buses. As an aside on this, I will note that Links is committed to being a environmentally sensitive and sustainable agency. We are working to transition our fleet to compressed natural gas and electric. About a third of our fleet has been converted thus far. You may not be quite as familiar with the rest of our family of services. Of course, Links operates the limo bus system, which is the circulator in downtown Orlando that you see all of the time. We have our very successful and popular van pool program, which is a carpooling program that operates region-wide. We also provide road ranger service along I-4. And we have our Access Links program, which is the door-to-door paratransit service for those most in need and disadvantaged in our community, many that don't have the opportunity to access other services. Let me tell you a little bit about who rides Links and who is using those, making those 25 million trips that I mentioned earlier. Almost 60% of our riders, the majority, are employed full-time, primarily in the service industries. Half of our riders use Links as their primary method to get to work. Over 60% do not have access to a car. So I'm not going to go through each of these statistics, but I just wanted to share a quick overview with you here tonight. These riders utilize the little over 4,300 bus stops that are region-wide. About 75% of those are in Orange County. About 1,100 of those bus stops currently have bus shelters. One of the most important aspects of any useful and successful transit program is that it brings reliable, convenient, and frequent service to the community. One of the things that I hear most often about the Lynx service is about the schedules and the frequency of our routes, and that's what you see on this slide here, and I just wanted to share that with the room. As you can see, the large majority of our routes right now are running over 30 minutes, have more than a 30-minute delay between buses, more than a 30-minute headway, if you will. In fact, over half of those are 60 minutes or more. And of course, none of our routes are currently operating 24 hours a day. Let me talk just a little bit about how Lynx is funded. And like most agencies, we have both an operating and a capital budget. I'll talk mostly here about the operating budget because that's what affects and is affected by the local government funding. Almost half of our operating revenue comes from the local governments, for the funding that, the property tax funding that Carla was mentioning earlier. Another 17% comes from rider fares. This is in accordance with national averages. This is about what fare box recovery is nationwide. Another quarter of our revenue comes from federal and state grants, and the remainder come from flexible funding sources like our advertising revenue from bus wraps and contract services and that kind of thing. Lynx has not had the opportunity to keep up with growth in the region over the years. Carla mentioned the population of the region. You all know that we live in one of the fastest growing regions in the nation. And this slide just kind of shows a snapshot of the period from 2010 to 2016. Our population increased 12%. At the same time, the miles traveled and the miles served by Lynx only increased by about 1%. So what I show on this slide is just kind of a snapshot of how Lynx compares in terms of funding with other regional transit agencies across the state and across the nation. The column in pink represents the dollars invested by the region in transit on a per person basis. And as you can see, Lynx ranks a little bit lower on this list than a number of other agencies. So with that, again, I'd like to welcome everybody. I will conclude my remarks and look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, now you've heard from Ms. Carla Bell Johnson, and she gave you a broad overview of Orange County government itself, and you've heard from Mr. Jim Harrison, who gave you an update, a snapshot of how Lynx operates. But before I go forward in the presentation, let me just talk to you all, the audience. How many of you, by show of hands, believes that we have traffic congestion in our area? Would you raise your hand? Okay. So how many of you believe that we can do better? We can come up with some meaningful solutions to that? Okay. I just wanted to check here to see if we're all on the same sheet of music. As they talked about, Orange County is a large county, 1,000 square mile county, and growing by a net of about 1,000 new residents each week. The region is growing by a net of about 1,500 people each week. Now, on top of that, when we look at our roadway infrastructure system, we have another 75 million tourists who come here. And many of them are also driving on our roadways. Now, the good news in all of that is that we are a growing, thriving community. I believe the time is now for us to really adequately address the transportation challenges that we have. We can only do that by planning for the change. Now, I don't know if all of you can see in the back there, but when we look at other metropolitan counties throughout Florida, and even those right here in the Metro Orlando area, Orange County's current state sales tax rate is 6%. Okay, and the local tax with the schools makes it a 0.5%, makes it 6.5%. When we look at Seminole County, our neighboring county, 7% already. They also have a local tax for traffic surcharge. Osceola County, already 7.5%. Broward County, 7%. Hillsborough County recently passed a transportation initiative. Their sales tax is at 8.5%. Volusia County has an infrastructure, school infrastructure surtax as well on top of their state tax of 6%. Palm Beach County, another urban county similar to Orange. Lake County, also here in the region, already at 7%. When we talk about a charter county and regional transportation system surtax, that is part of the conversation that I want to have with you tonight. Because in terms of trying to come up with a solution, we have looked at various ways to try to address the challenges that we have. And how would we fund this going forward? One of the reasons why we have decided to explore the potential with you of a surcharge, a transportation system surtax, is because it's flexible. It gives us the opportunity to pay for operation and maintenance expenses associated with things like perhaps the Lynx transit system or the Sunrail transit system or others to be named in the future. The other good thing about this tax, rather than increasing property taxes, the good thing about a sales tax is over 51% of the people who would pay the tax don't live here. It's that 75 million group that I talked about who come here, who are traveling our roadways and contributing to some of the congestion that we have. And we would be dependent on them to help us look for a long-term funding source. The other thing about a sales tax is it would not apply to essential food, groceries, prescription drugs, utilities, etc. None of that is included in the calculation for sales taxes. Now, what's the next steps? Part of what we're doing here tonight is we will here soon have a dialogue with you where we're going to seek input from you. If we move forward with putting a sales tax initiative on the ballot, it will require a lot of community conversation and dialogue, a lot of community engagement, where we will have meetings, I would dare say hundreds of meetings like tonight in various places where we will engage our community in the decision-making process that we will come forward with. Then we'll have to develop a plan of action of what can we perhaps use the revenues from a sales tax for. I can kind of give you aspirational things about how we could perhaps use a sales tax. For example, if we wanted to double the number of routes for Lynx, increase the convenience so that a broader number of people will ride the bus transit system that we have here. You saw Mr. Harrison say that the current budget is about $148 million in terms of an operating budget, with a little over 300 buses in the fleet. If we wanted to reduce the wait time between buses, increase the capacity of our system, increase the locations where our members of this community could catch about 700 square miles and compared to Orange County, some of you may be Lynx bus riders, and that might be important to you to get you closer to where you work, closer to where you shop, closer to where you live, closer to where you may go to the doctor, etc. After the development of a plan, the next step would be to take that plan before the Board of County Commission. My colleagues and I would have open conversation and dialogue in public settings about the merit of putting such a tax on the ballot. We then report back to you after that dialogue in a public forum, and if successful, the goal would be to put this on the ballot in November of 2020 during the general presidential election. I'll talk more about this as we go forward tonight. Okay. What I'm going to do at this time is we wanted to just frame the issues for you and the potential for what could happen if we had a dedicated funding source through a surtax. It could potentially produce on an annual basis revenue of some...
Over there on the other side of the room. And we've divided all the topics that you're going to bring up hopefully into 6 areas: public transportation, pedestrian and bike safety, roads, technology, traffic signals and streetlights, and intersections, and then the final one is other, if there's something we haven't covered. We are going to be writing down your comments. That's how important it is to our plan. So please come up and talk. Now, many of you took a survey when you first came in, and I have some of the comments cards that were filled out from the survey. We want to let the audience at home know that they can also fill out a survey if they go to ocfl.net/transportation survey. That's ocfl.net/transportation survey. And if you didn't fill out one here, you can go home and fill one out. But we ask that you turn your survey in before you leave tonight. And also, this is being broadcast live. There is a hashtag. Our social media team is here to take comments or questions from the Twitterverse. And our hashtag is OCFL Town Hall. OCFL Town Hall. So I'm going to read a few of the comments, and then if someone wants to get up to the microphone, we'll start calling on people, because I know no one wants to be first. So here's a few comments. From Nicole, she says, trying to make transportation successful for the blind and those in wheelchairs. That's her comment, and that's one of the things that she would like to see. From Joey, he wants to know if there are plans to make the limo one continuous route so that it's more rider-friendly to out-of-town guests. Jim, do you think you could talk about that?
Sure, we can address that.
You want to stand up here just a second and address it to our audience?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. So limo is, as I mentioned earlier, the downtown circulator. It has a number of stops. There's a couple of different routes right now that are designed to provide service to the variety of businesses and the variety of folks that need to travel downtown. There's not any plans on the books right now to make it into one continuous loop. That's certainly something that we could evaluate if that's the input from the yes.
Yeah. So thank you. So the mayor asked you for a show of hands. I'd like to get a show of hands too. How many of you take public transportation on a regular basis? That's very impressive. Thank you for taking time out to come here. So how many use Lynx? Okay. And Sunrail. So some of you use both. Thank you. Would somebody like to go up to the microphone? Gordon? Okay, ma'am, yes, please go up to the microphone. Can you tell us what's your experience been like? And what challenges have you had? And where do you want to see improvements? And we will write down your comments.
On the road, and we needed this bus and train service, including holidays, weekends, and holidays and nighttime, and to please close the gaps so that nobody don't have to sit in a hot heat or cold weather or rain or anything like that, and to have it every half hour, maybe even every 10 minutes if God's willing, for every single bus of the whole United States of Florida.
See more integration. You want to see more buses running. You say that there's just a lot of gaps.
Yes.
And do you ride in Orange County as well?
Yes,
You
I do.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Gordon.
You're welcome. Thank
Come on.
you.
You're
going to call on me?
I'm going to call on you. I talked to you when...
State agency, another is a collection of local governments. So when Sunrail gets managed by our local governments, we need to do a much better job of coordinating bus service with rail service. So that's one thing. I would also say the Lynx app has been a game changer. I would not ride the Lynx if it was not for the Lynx app. That's a huge positive. So the Lynx app, and I've also noticed that most of the riders use the Lynx app. So that enables you can see where the buses are, and you can leave your house or office just in time to catch the bus. Once you figured out how long it takes you to walk there. So that's a big plus that Lynx has implemented. But for the most part, I would just say more frequent service, weekend and night service. And another item which nobody has mentioned is Orange County and Orlando leads the nation in pedestrian and cycling fatalities. Yes. And that's a horrible statistic for us to be number one in. So a lot more needs to be done about that.
Thanks. You, Gordon. I know we'll get a microphone over to you because I know you can't get up to the podium. But I wanted to ask how many people here use a vehicle as your primary mode of transportation? Okay, good. I want to hear from you in just a second. So, ma'am, please step up to the microphone. What problems do you see with your commute? And tell us about your challenges. And where do you live?
I live on the east side of Orlando, and this is my third time to the County Commission in maybe the last 3 years to talk about the problems that we have on the east side. Incredible opportunity that's been missed for transportation. The UCF area, which is technically the young people that you're gonna train to use the bus system. We have problems through the east side of Orlando, and that is not. It looks awful. And
do you want more bus stops? Do you want? I mean, can you?
I am in favor of increasing the sales tax or whatever it is, the transportation fees that you're going to do, but I need to see tangible commitments to improving the east side because it's been neglected. Everything goes to the west, goes to the tourists, and I understand that they're the ATM of our community, but at the same time, people live here, and if you don't think that affects your pocketbook, I can tell you I've had my house appraised twice, and that's the reason why I've showed up to the commission, and I've had to fight and get second appraisals to get money out of my house to send my kids to college. So it does affect your pocketbook, and the quality of the trip, which Walter Goulash talked about when I was in planning, is very important because you can have a 45-minute commute, but if it's a quality commute and it's a pleasant commute, it feels like half an hour.
So you think that if we got the transportation...
I would tell you that your economic development department should cost out the economic impact of the UCF area. Because when you think about it, there's like 5 higher institutions of education there. There's Martin...
Okay, I'd like to see, first of all, light rail system, like Miami, they have this Metro Rail or Metro Mover, which is a people mover system. The people mover would be great for downtown, and also the light rail would be great, as well as having the Sunrail Pass and Lynx passes integrated.
So that is a problem right now. You have to have 2 passes for 2 different modes of transportation.
Orlando International Airport. Sunrail does not connect to that. Right. I know there's a plane where we can go down and take our bus to the plane. That's great, as long as I leave on a weekday and come back on a weekday, because if I want to leave on a weekend, there's no opportunity to do that.
Right.
I would love to ride my bike, but the number of times I've been riding along a bike lane that will disappear and put me out into traffic, I can lose count. Orange Avenue is a prime example of this, right out here. The number of times I've been riding along a bicycle lane and have someone parked on the inside open up their door and I have to swerve into traffic. Just recently, a cyclist in Orlando down near the airport was killed while riding in a bicycle lane. I think what we need is a transportation system now is not sufficing what we have. What's it going to do when we double our population? Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Mayor Demings?
Okay. Let me just speak to that.
Thank you, sir.
Very quickly. The reason why we're having this dialogue is our approach is to understand what it would take for you to support a transportation surtax type of a solution. In order to do that, we have to listen to you, and our goal is to develop a spending plan, a project list, where we would do so in consultation with our municipalities. So we have several mayors here tonight. We would work with those mayors and their city or town managers to ensure that we are taking into consideration their needs. We're listening to you to make certain that if this passes, you will be paying the dollars, but again, over half of the funds will be paid by our visitors. And so if we use a property tax solution, we leave out that 50% or so of people who will be contributing from the sales tax. We don't have those revenues. Even today, if we increase property taxes by $500,000, it would generate about $72 million. If it was a full meal, $144 million on an annual basis. A half-penny sales tax, again, that is paid by over 50% by someone who doesn't live here, would produce about $630 million. So in terms of developing that project list, that geographically will benefit those who may live in East Orange, in North Orange, South Orange, or West Orange. It will have a spending plan that would benefit all geographical areas of our community, which is where you come in. And that's why we're doing these listening sessions here tonight. So yes, as we move forward with these community meetings, we are taking your input, then we will cost out the potential project list and come up with a spending plan. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense to you.
Sir, you're next, but I want you to take a look behind you and see how many people are behind you. So if you could just keep your comments succinct, we'd really appreciate it. Please go ahead. Tell us how you commute and what your thoughts are.
Okay, if I only have a little bit of time, I'll try to compress it. We have an ecosystem of problems that can only be solved by an ecosystem of solutions. Our problems in transportation cannot be seen as separate from our problems in housing, because the place that both of those connect is our land use. And one of the issues of our land use is that we have a certain suburban zoning code that is not working in an urban area. This code is called off-street parking requirements. Now, one of the reasons why so many people in Orange County need cars is because the way that we use land stretches out the uses of land so much that we can't even get from point A to point B without cars. And not only that, but you also need to spend more on our transit systems as well because of how disconnected and disjointed everything is. Now, the off-street parking requirements are one problem, but I have a solution to, like an ecosystem of solutions that can generate up to $100 million of revenue, decrease costs for the people who live here, and decrease costs of operation. Okay.
That's the off-street
I can summarize
parking.
in 3 points.
Okay.
Okay, 3 points. The first thing to do is to remove off-street parking requirements. All right, thank you.
Okay, next.
Hi, thank you. My name's Aaron Powell, and I teach at Valencia on the West Campus, and I'm also the president of the Orlando Bike Coalition.
Oh, thank you.
So with regards to Valencia, I just wanted to remind students, faculty, staff of Valencia and UCF that classes are starting next week. And also, if they go to, students or anyone goes to the security office, you can get a sticker that will allow you to ride the Lynx bus for free throughout the year. And a lot of faculty, staff, and students still don't know that. We need to increase ridership as well to justify some of this. And also, because of the downtown campus, students, faculty, and staff can get a Sunrail pass for free, which will allow people to ride the Sunrail up until, I think, all the way through October. So please take advantage of that. Wearing my Orlando bike, a less than desirable city to bike or walk.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next.
Let's see if we can get this down low enough. Whoops. Okay.
Take a look behind you and see how many people want to talk. So we want to keep this quick because we want to keep this moving. Thank you.
I talk pretty fast.
Okay, good.
Okay, anyway, my name is Sally Baptist. I was born and raised here in Orange County, so I've seen a lot of changes in it. And I'm going to hold Mayor Demings to, he said he wanted our input, he wanted our involvement. I have time and time again, I've been studying transportation for the past 20 plus years, and we've come up with other ways to fund it, ways to improve it, but nobody wants to listen to the average citizen because we don't really know anything, we just live
But
here.
we do. So if I could, respectfully, we want to hear what you feel.
But I'm just telling you what I've dealt with in the past.
But we
Because
do.
what I've had in the past, I've rejected. But for the mayor, I have left the information back there.
Okay, great.
It's a packet I've handed out. It talks about transportation. It talks about alternatives, ways we can improve it. I will hope, and in the past, I have requested to present things to the commission and to the Expressway Authority, but they just wouldn't let the average person talk.
Okay.
So that's that. The other critical thing we have to talk about, you will never get transportation under control if you don't control the growth. Growth management is a disaster in Central Florida and especially here in Orange County.
So that would be one of the points to put
Correct.
down is to look into growth. Anything else?
Yes, and also right now, because of mismanaged growth, we have Lake Underhill and Goldenrod is a total disaster. They built a massive apartment complex. The people can't even. Who keeps silencing me here?
No. It's just
okay.
We get it. You made
it's
your
a massive
point,
one, and on Lake Underhill and Goldenrod is a mess. Okay. And now they got people coming out of this mega apartment complex. They're having to make a right turn, and then they're having to make a U-turn at there. But there's so much mismanagement.
So we would talk about. You would say to put down over there, it would be under. It would be technology, traffic signals, and streetlights or roads. That's what you're talking about would be your major concerns.
Well, management of growth. You've got to get the growth under, or you will never get control of transportation. And then you've got to manage the transportation. We have to focus on solutions, not political desires. I truly don't think we needed to give Universal Studios $125 million
we're here
for a road.
And I appreciate that, but let's let the next speaker. Thank you. And thank you for giving your plan to our people so we can look at it.
And I hope somebody will actually contact me and talk to me about it.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Hello, my name's Eric. I live over near Florida Mall. Thank you for doing this. I'm originally from Denver. They have an awesome light rail system all over the place. I realize Orlando's not going to get there anytime in this century, and that's fine. That's fine. But so what I would ask is at least work on maybe more bike lanes, like what people have been saying, and actually trails, that are designated specifically for the bikes. I'm definitely in favor of raising the sales tax up to a penny. I think you were mentioning half a penny. I'll take a penny. Whatever we need to do to get this fixed. Part of the reason I moved out of Tampa is because they have no vision, and those 3 counties over there, they can't work together to save their lives. I'm a rideshare driver, full-time rideshare driver for Uber and Lyft. So one of my biggest things that I feel bad for is my customers that are low-income customers that work jobs like Walmart, fast food, etc. They're spending roughly 1/8 of their paycheck every day to take Uber and Lyft because there's not sufficient buses that need to run late. And on weekends, I would ask that we run Sunrail weekends. I'm excited for Virgin Train coming here.
Thank you.
Definitely get a train that goes from UCF to the west side of town. And also, I do like what Orlando downtown is doing on the weekends, where they have designated rideshare pickup spots.
Okay.
And then one last thing for the tolls. I'm not too fond of the idea of tolls on I-4, but if it's a fluctuating one, where it actually, where it's going to help you go fast, I don't mind paying a higher price. And so I think we should do that on the 417, the 408, 528. To me, it's absolutely senseless to pay a toll to be stuck in traffic.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you. There's a wireless question in the back. Can we hear from that person? And then you, sir.
My name is Nicole. And for those of you that can see, I have a black and white toy Chihuahua. He is my service dog. He is dual trained. He will alert me to my asthma as well as guide me when needed. The problem that I have is twofold. I am an Access Lynx, I am a fixed route, and a Sunrail user. Lynx has done a wonderful thing here at the bus station by putting the audio boxes by the bays for me to know when the next bus is coming. Thank you. I had been fighting for that for over 7 years. One of my problems I have is I use a wheelchair and my cane. With Sunrail, if I do not have the Sunrail staff to assist me, which sometimes has happened, and I am by myself with my dog, I would love to see Sunrail do, I think it's a minor thing, please say before the train stops, please allow people to get off the train before people get on. Because with my wheelchair, I have to wait on the conductor to put the ramp down or to use the lift, whichever they choose to do. The problem
Mission for the handicapped, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm willing to work with anybody, Mayor Demings, you included. I am willing to take anybody on my adventures with me so you guys can see firsthand what myself and my dog go through.
Thank you. We'll make sure to get your name and contact information. Go ahead, sir.
20 years ago when I moved down here, they declared Pine Hills Road and Silver Star a failed road. The people in Pine Hills worked together to stop the county from widening it. And if they had widened it, it would have killed Pine Hills. So therefore, widening is not the answer. What concerns me is the mayor. This trail has helped develop more the community of Pine Hills. You can see that at Golf Star and Silver Star. The second thing is that if we can improve our Links program and get more buses more often, we'll be able to change the urban quality of Pine Hills and all of Orange County.
Thank you. Thank you. Ma'am, next.
Hi, thank you for doing this. My name is Vanessa, and I work for Organized Florida. And the people I represent are often like working class people for whom a sales tax increase will be a heavy burden. And so my question, or my proposal for Mr. Mayor in response to your question is, what are we doing?
And so when you look at the,
this is the traffic.
those same corporations do pay significantly in terms of the ad valorem taxes that we have here. I believe if we looked at using ad valorem taxes, it definitely will impact the low-wage earners more disproportionately. Now, why do I say that? Because if you're renting and you're already chronically rent-stressed, and we move that to real estate property owners, and we increase the property taxes, guess who they're going to pass that tax on to? Directly to you. I said earlier that here, total budget, about 16% of it would be for public safety. So we have would create opportunities for upward mobility, entrepreneurial opportunities, even public-private partnerships between higher education to train individuals for some of the specialized, more technical jobs that will be created. And so I believe that at some point we'll see a downturn in the economy. What this will, if this tax passes, it will insulate us somewhat from that downturn in the economy and keep people working. Regardless of the income level, it'll keep them working. So hopefully that kind of responds to you in a kind of broad way, I think, about how the tax would benefit you directly, perhaps, if you're a low-wage earner.
Thank you for your response.
Okay.
Sir, we'll get to you next, but Mayor, we've got some Twitter questions. Questions, or some Twitter users wanted to hear exactly where the sales tax revenue would go, which I think we've kind of answered, but what kind of transparency and oversight might be enabled?
Okay. Let me do a couple of things. We hadn't introduced the county administrator. Mr. Byron Brooks is here in the audience as well, and Byron works to manage the overall county operations on a day-to-day basis. But in terms of oversight, we will obviously, if these are public dollars, it'll be very transparent because of our public records laws here. Everything will be accounted for. We're subject to review and audit by the elected comptroller here in Orange County that is independent from the Board of County Commission. And then, we will look forward if there are recommendations that will come forward from these community conversations about advisory groups or the like. We will entertain all of that. So some of this is not yet determined. It will be determined based upon the input that we get from the citizens here in Orange County. So Byron, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, sir, if you would please tell us where you live and what your concerns are.
First of all, thank you, Mayor Demings, for putting this on. I live in East Orange County, by the UCF area. Two concerns. First concern, and I do have evidence and pictures to. First concern is a few of the buses I've been on.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
A few of the buses I've been on, the 104 going to downtown, a few of them have mechanical issues.
So they're like they break down?
Yes,
or?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
One incident, actually 2 days ago. Time, 5:25 p.m. 104 bus, the bus number 813, by Forsyth and Colonial. Bus broke down. It was actually almost caught on fire. Bus almost caught on fire, and that's a concern to me.
The age of the fleet and the maintenance of the fleet. Jim, could you talk a little bit about that and how how this could possibly help the plan?
Well, certainly, and I mean that's a very valid concern, very valid challenge. Mm-hmm. These buses obviously don't run forever. The Lynx fleet is increasingly aging. We try to buy new buses as much as we can, as much as the agency can afford, and keep them maintained as well as we can. But certainly the challenges associated with an aging fleet and
to me, I almost called Todd from Action 9 about this issue.
Sure.
But I'm glad that I know that you're the CEO now. I can come to you about this because I'm going to hold you accountable for these issues.
Fabulous.
And also hold the mayor accountable as well for these issues. I know he ain't got nothing to do with it, but still. He gives money to Lynx. Lynx are supposed to fix the buses, make sure everything runs smoothly. So.
And you probably, did you miss work or, what did this cause for you?
I missed the meeting, a very important meeting. I missed the meeting from this. And, it's just concerning to me. And my second concern is this. A few of us spoke about it, but having the buses run past a certain time. On the weekends, I tend to do temporary work with some of my other colleagues, and buses don't run as often as I would like them to. A few times on the Sunday.
We are writing that down right now.
A few of the times on my route, I missed the buses because the last bus will leave about 7:30, and I would get to the station about 10:30. I would have to call an Uber, which I hate Ubers. I would have to call an Uber from downtown Lake. So can you just kind of, if Mr. Jim could talk on the issue, see if we can get some more buses running past a certain time?
Well, certainly, that's a very large part of why we're here tonight. That was part of what I discussed in my presentation, and that is a challenge region-wide. As I mentioned, the majority of our bus routes are, there's more than a 30-minute delay between buses, wait time between buses. Half of our routes are 60 minutes or more. So that is very definitely a challenge. That is a matter of funding. It's simply a matter of funding. More funding, you can run more frequently, you can run more buses.
Thank you.
Give us more funding so we can have more buses.
Yes, well, we've got your comments, and we thank you, and we'll keep you posted. And I know there's still people behind you, so we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Theresa Patterson. My concern has to do with the disabled. I have a son that's 22. He's on the autism spectrum. He's not able to cross streets due to vision problems. And in my research to Links, I'm being told that his fare would be over $4 each way. And I need to know what can I do to defray those costs. And I just heard that some students will be able to travel to and from, college locations, college venues at no cost. So I wanted to know what are my options for my son for door-to-door service.
Is there somebody here that can help?
Certainly, if you care to share your information, there'll be a person at the back of the room there, a young lady with her hand raised there,
right there,
who can take your information and look into that particular situation.
Okay,
for you.
thank you very much
Absolutely.
for having me. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Okay. Next, so do you ride Links? Do you commute by car?
I drive.
You drive.
Links provide services for my mother, who's handicapped, and my son, so I'm very grateful for the services that they provide. I've got no complaints with that. So in my case, that's not why I'm here.
Okay.
I'm not sure everything has to do with Links.
No, it doesn't. We want to hear commuter stories too.
All right, because I have issues when I see pedestrian and bicycle safety, and I know the mayor already knows me on this subject. Why do we not have motorcycle safety awareness as well with the amount of motorcycle riders that we have here in the state, and we're losing so many of them? I think it should be an inclusion. That's one thing. My second point that I wanted to make is, why aren't we cracking down on those tickets for the distracted driving? I mean, I think that if we crack down on that a little bit more than just speeding or whether they have a seatbelt, I think the state will make a lot more money, and we can use that money for
increases in the 30 years. I've supported both Orange County Public Schools half penny tax increase as well as the half mil. Actually, I voted in 4 increases. And I supported those because I saw the return on the investment and the value of having good schools. Both of my children have been educated at Orange County Public Schools. We're very happy with the school system. My youngest son is a sophomore at Olympia High School. And here's an opportunity here for Links and for transportation. My youngest son is a sophomore at Olympia High School in West Orange County. And he's eligible for a program that is known as dual enrollment. Beginning as a junior, he can start taking classes at Valencia and potentially graduate as a senior with a dual degree, with a college degree, an AA degree, and a high school diploma. However, Orange County Public Schools does not offer transportation to Valencia. So what the decision that my wife and I have to make next year is, should we buy him a car, or how do we transport him from the school to Valencia? The cost of a car, sorry.
It's okay, we hear you.
Cost of buying a car, just the insurance alone is $3,000 a year, plus a vehicle plus gas.
So your question is?
Well, it's not necessarily a question, but I could be persuaded to support a new tax if Links could provide some sort of opportunities for not only my son, other students. And I look at my other students in West Orange County, at Ocoee High School, at West Orange as well, that could have opportunities to do dual enrollment if they have transportation. So not a question, just an idea.
Okay, but if they do dual enrollment and they're a Valencia student, maybe there's some wiggle room there. I mean, you heard the professor speak and say that they could get, but I understand.
Right.
There's still logistics.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Al Howard. I live in West Orange. I'm a fairly new resident to Orange County from a bigger city in the northern part of the country. I'm here to speak really to the driving experience.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Not particularly on I-4, but on the side roads. I'm fortunate enough, I'm a small businessman, and I don't have to drive every day to commute. Yet, when I am in traffic, I'm just here to talk, maybe question, why are the lights so long?
I'm hearing some nodding in agreement. So we've got a category for that. Tell us, tell us about the problems it's causing with the streetlights.
The city is obviously growing. The county is obviously growing. I mean, I would, as I said, I live, down by Disney in that area. And no matter what time of the day or night, there seems to be no engineered adjustment to how long you sit at a light. I would hope that the county would spend the money now to actually look at the problem, study the problem, invite an engineering company or someone from the outside to study it and to make the adjustments, because we spend a lot of time, and as you get backed up at one light and the next light is not changing, or it just seems to just create bottlenecks
Can
all
you
over
tell
the
us
place.
which street you're on, which road you're on?
Sand Lake.
Sand Lake. Sand Lake. Oh, I see a lot of, okay. Yes.
Today
Thank
I
you.
was up. I was in the other part. I can't think of the name of the part of the town since I'm still new
Popcave
here.
Island, perhaps?
Well, I was
Turkey
actually
Lake?
up near Eatonville area.
Okay.
Same problems. So it just seems to be like there's no attention to that, or I don't know, maybe by design.
But,
I'm
you
not
know,
sure.
we've written it down, and thank you so much. That's a different topic. We have a question right here up front.
Well, I just wanted to say good job on the Links Paul Pass. It's much easier for me to buy my bus pass in case not able to get downtown before my bus pass expires. Second of all, my husband and I are disabled. He's legally blind, and I've had one driver say it's a gray area for them to ask people to vacate the front seats, and that's, excuse my language, but that's a line of bullshit, you know, because
it's a family show.
Sorry.
She didn't mean to.
Sorry, but
So you're saying that you get on a bus, and
Yes.
there's a designated area for you, and people are sitting there.
Yes.
And the bus driver won't, you'll say, hey, please move, but they won't move, and
They
the bus
won't
driver
enforce
won't
it.
do anything.
No.
Don't enforce it. No.
Okay. That's a problem. Thank you. Okay. Sir, we've gotten to you, but we want to get the guy at the microphone.
My name is R.J. Mueller, and I also live on the east side of the county by UCF. You know, I think strengthening links will help, but the people out east are mostly car commuters.
Right.
And so I want to know what infrastructure improvements will come from this tax for car commuters in East Orange County. And I guess when I say this, it echoes throughout our county, but our roads in East Orange County are over capacity, and there's no plan. So I'm behind this tax because I don't think there's anything else that will get us out of this. But we have to know that attention will be on the east side and our problems will be addressed out there. And lastly, I want to echo the bike issues. I'm a bike commuter, I'm a bike advocate, and active in the community as well as the bike cycling community. And as Aaron said, the days of white lines on 4-lane roads are over. Don't waste any more money on those because no one uses them. Build protected bike lanes, and bike commuting can't just be done because a policy mandates it. It has to be purposely and thoughtfully laid out. This area does not have a very good track record when it comes to bike and ped safety, and I hope this tax can change that.
Can you just give us an area? You said that commuting is a nightmare. Is it the lights? Is it the crowded? Could you just give us something that we could write down for you, that we can look into?
It's the number of cars on the roads. It's Highway 50 going down a 2-lane road, and that's just way, way over capacity, and there's no plan to address it right now.
So your issue is let's get some of these cars off the road. Let's figure out how to do that.
And like I said, links will help, but that's a long-term solution. It's
Right.
not the solution for car commuters. We need some kind of infrastructure plans to address these issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Joey, I'll echo. I didn't come here. I live in the east side. It's not what I'm here to talk about, but I can feel his pain from living out in Waterford Lakes for the last 20 years. So I certainly know where he's coming from on that. I'm representing my hoteliers in downtown Orlando. I'm the director of sales at the Residence Inn in downtown, and there are billions of dollars in revenue and TDT revenue that we're familiar with that my colleagues hold on to and hold near and dear to. But I think if they utilize the transportation a little better for our out-of-town guests and coordinate it towards them, they'd be willing to give more of that TDT revenue. I think it's working together with the hoteliers on that. We got a downtown hoteliers meeting Monday. Love to get you out there if we could. I've been pressing for it. Some of my colleagues in the downtown area, especially with the limo, trying to get limo to work for our out-of-town guests and generate some of that TDT revenue. There's billions of dollars of it. We know it's our largest producer, and I hope enough of it's going to it. I can speak quickly about my hotel and the transportation issue with the limos. I ride it. I'm always on there by myself and usually a few transients. I recommend it to all my guests from the time they come in till the time they leave, and they just don't use it because of the confusion of getting on and off. And I really need to get with somebody on it.
Well, we're running out of
That's
time,
it, yep,
and I
I'm
see
done.
there's a couple
Thank
people in line, so we will get your comments, but we must thank all of you for being here tonight. And Mayor, just would you like to say one more thing? And we would like to sign off, and we will get everyone who's in line and get their comments.
All right, well, let me say thank you again to all of you for being here. This is likely the first of hundreds of meetings like this that we will engage in throughout the county. And we'll look at best practices, and I promise you that we will come